All of our work as a school depends on everyone's goodwill, strenuous efforts, and imagination. I speak of students as well as teachers and staff. I want to start, as I do every graduation, by acknowledging the teachers and staff. Every year, no matter how smoothly things may go, all are weary by June. This year, with the move to online learning that the COVID-19 outbreak required, this has been especially difficult for faculty and staff, not to mention students. We all have been cheered by the expressions of thanks from students and parents in recent weeks. And at this point, I want to redouble the thanks to all of you, my colleagues, for my own part and on behalf of the students and families. I especially want to thank a couple of groups that have made particular efforts in the past 2 months to help take some of the sting out of our seniors' loss of much of their 12th grade spring. A group of 8 faculty and staff have put a lot of time in this past month organizing this ceremony and the various special touches that we hope will make it memorable. And another group of 7 faculty and 7 students worked through April and May to plan special events, virtual Hancock and Diversity Days with the virtual talent show, and some lovely tributes to seniors, all of which made our time in virtual Commonwealth feel a little less isolated. So thanks to the students, Alan Plotz, Alec Bodie-Mather, Amalia LaBelle, Annie Jones, Kate O'Rourke, Ryan Fan, and Sasha Bates, and faculty and staff, Alicia Elliott, Anna Moss, Aaron Kerner, Carly Renshaw, David Hodgkins, Estrella Alves, Jack Stedman, Jessica Tomer, Kyla Toomey, Joshua Eagle, Kathy Tarnoff, Matt Singer, Monica Schilder, and Sasha Esklund. And special thanks to Don Connolly for his amazing rendition during our virtual talent show of Don Corleone delivering Mark Antony's funeral speech from Julius Caesar. So thank you all. Graduation at Commonwealth is a time that we recognize faculty who are leaving the school. This is their commencement as well. Today we bid farewell to 3. All of them have contributed in important ways to the life of the school. Were we in person, I would present each with parting gifts. This year, we're sending the gifts to their homes, but I will say a few words about each. Will Holub-Moorman. Will Holub-Moorman came to Commonwealth right out of college in 2016, strongly recommended by a departing teacher who knew of his work at Harvard. We weren't sure how long Will would stay with us, as we suspected graduate school figured in his future, but we were delighted to have him. As sabbaticals gave rise to shifting needs, Will has proven the consummate utility player, teaching variously over the last 4 years, US history, ancient history, City of Boston, a semester of this year's popular elective American Culture and Politics 1968 to the present. He has advised a seniors capstone project this year and has also served as faculty advisor and coach to various of our teams. To all of his work at Commonwealth, Will has brought deep knowledge, kindness, and commitment. Melissa Hebert, who has worked most closely with Will as a fellow teacher of US City of Boston and American Culture and Politics, she gave me her thoughts when I asked about Will. She shared the following. When he arrived, Will hit the ground running, drawing such authority from his impressive knowledge and the way he applies his understanding of the past to his commitment to seeing the present clearly, that it easily overcame the fact the students were distracted by his youth. Will also continued a long, almost unbroken tradition going back to Commonwealth's founder of teaching US history from what some would call a left-wing perspective. Others would call it honest. Fox News would call it socialist, and strangely, in this case, Will himself might concur with Fox News. I mentioned this to Ms. Hebert, and she replied, well, he does make me look like a free market conservative in comparison, that's for sure. Will is now off to graduate school at Princeton. Luckily for us, it took 4 years for him to take that leap. Will, we are deeply grateful for all you have given your students, advisees, and players. We all share Melissa's sentiment when she wrote, quote, how much I'll miss a colleague so committed to thinking about what's important. Melissa can't wait to introduce her future students to the books you will write. Thank you, Will. Next, Kathy Tarnoff. I once heard about a variant on the game of baseball, probably apocryphal. In this version, when a player hit the ball, the first baseman could move the base, adding an element of unpredictability to the challenges hitters face. You may hit the ball squarely, but you can't be quite sure where you'll have to run to reach base safely. This game, whether or not it ever existed, still serves as the perfect metaphor for the work faced by Commonwealth's athletic director, Kathy Tarnoff. She is responsible for countless duties necessary to managing the program: finding and hiring coaches, securing fields, courts, dance studios, and fitness venues, arranging bus transportation, medical trainers, referees, and scorers for games, managing our relationships with leagues to which we belong, and ordering and distributing uniforms. But when Kathy hits those balls out of the infield, she then has to deal with the Metropolitan District Commission when it revokes permits, with bus drivers who get lost on the way to games, and with changes to the calendar and schedule that Commonwealth's sometimes erratic headmaster calls for. There are days, if you're Commonwealth's athletic director, when you're not even sure which base you should run for. But Kathy, our director of athletics and wellness these past 7 years, brought exemplary calm, conscientiousness, and commitment to the job as she did to all of her work. Under Kathy, these operations ran as smoothly as I have seen. In addition to keeping the show rolling, Kathy made sure by her own example and her instructions that coaches and students exhibited the positive attitude and sportsmanship about which we care deeply. And she cares deeply about promoting the well-being of our students. Her health and community classes equipped ninth graders with the information and instruction they need to make informed, thoughtful decisions about matters of nutrition, sleep, sexual health, sexuality, use of substances, and the like. Her direct but sympathetic approach contributed powerfully to the effectiveness of her teaching, and these same qualities made her a fine faculty advisor to her students. But the effort that has perhaps proven Kathy's most popular is Hazel, the therapy dog. Kathy has cared deeply about helping students manage stress, serving on our Student Life Task Force, promoting mindfulness, and advising our student club that promotes school spirit, community. But at mid-years and finals over the past 5 or 6 years, she has brought Hazel, her friend's adorable Shar-Pei, to school early on exam days to sit with anxious students and help them relax before their 3-hour exams. It is a measure of Hazel's popularity that one senior who never even sat with Hazel listed her as one of her favorite things about Commonwealth. Kathy's dedication to the role of athletics in our students' lives and to their health and well-being, and her kind, thoughtful manner have enriched us all. We wish you all the best, KT. Thank you for all that you have given to Commonwealth. All right, and finally, Bob Vollrath. Bob Vollrath, as you heard, is retiring after 38 years at Commonwealth. He is the only person who has been here longer than I have, so I want to note a few lessons I learned over the years from my senior colleague. I'm not going to be able to call anyone my senior colleague from now on. I met Bob on the day I interviewed at Commonwealth in 1985. His Midwestern warmth and friendliness, he is a native Minnesotan, made this Chicagoan feel welcome. After I was hired, I discovered that Bob and a senior girl would be my students in a second-year Greek class. That elective, in which we puzzled our way through portions of Plato's Apology of Socrates, was an important part of my introduction to Commonwealth's collaborative ethos. Teachers then often took each other's courses. They sat side by side with students, in our case, facing together the mysteries of the Greek particles and prepositions and sharing moments of earnest inquiry and genuine delight. In those early years, Bob spent his summers helping to run Camp Courage, a camp in Minnesota for the hearing impaired. One September, at an opening faculty meeting, he told us with mischievous delight of a state camp inspector who, on a visit to Camp Courage, tested the hot water with his finger. He remarked, "My, that's kind of cold," at which point Bob pulled out the thermometer he had just for this occasion to demonstrate that it was exactly the temperature prescribed in state regulations. That too was a lesson for this young Commonwealth teacher. Always mind the gap between rules issued from on high and experience on the ground. Bob's role at the camp made sense to me, given what I'd seen of his warm devotion to his students and his meticulous, careful organization. If you change the school calendar 3 months in advance, you will disrupt Bob's syllabus. Bob and Kate Bluestein, in the lean years of the early 90s, ran Commonwealth admissions for a few years. His ability to connect with nervous 15-year-olds, to listen and give them reassurance, got the school's recovery from low enrollment underway. When I succeeded him in admissions, I made a point of imitating the warm and welcoming approach he brought to the position. And Bob's organizational efficiency and tact made him the ideal Hancock czar, dealing out staff roles, booking buses, and managing relations with Camp Winona. Most important, Bob, together with longtime department colleague Rebecca Folkman, put together a French program that, in its rigor and its emphasis in advanced levels on they put together a French program that, in its rigor and its emphasis on attending closely to text and film, reflected the best of Commonwealth in so many ways. A challenge of teaching French or any foreign language in the United States is giving students a sense that the subject is substantive, that it is more than a classroom exercise or a polite duty. With the French exchange with schools in Albertville in the early years and Strasbourg of late, with the immersion in film, literature, and culture, and with the friendliness, energy, and commitment he brought to the classroom for 38 years, Bob made it real. And as we heard in his students' video tribute last week, he made it fun. Thank you, Bob.
Oh.
Great background.